Live from Arlington, Texas, it's the 2015 International Bowl, as this the first of a 6-game series over the next week here in Texas. As the United States U18 squad, the junior national team, squaring off against their counterparts from Canada, a team made up of, well, some all-stars from their Canada Cup from this past summer. All uniting. You see some great signs for both teams. We'll have a chance to introduce you to many of the standout players throughout this afternoon's contest. But first, let's introduce you to the broadcast team. Lincoln Rose, along with Greg Powers and Joe Vasile with you. Thrilled to have you with us, as for a second straight year, the format is 6 games. This year, 5 of them featuring the United States against their next-door neighbor of Canada. Tonight, the U18 square off, the second oldest group. Tomorrow, 4 games coming your way right here on ESPN3, beginning at 10 a.m. in the morning. That will begin with one non-Canadian squad. That will be a team that features 27 nations, the IFAF World Team against the United States Select Team from the age group of U19. United States has won the toss for this, the opening half. We'll explain how things will be played in this International Bowl series, but first we check in with Joe Vasile.
Thank you very much, Lincoln. And it's time for us to take a look at some of the impact players presented by Collegiate Sports Data going on in this game. Dwayne Haskins and Trayvon Diggs on the offense. 2 guys in this one to really be keeping an eye out for on the USA side. And on the defensive side of the ball, Joe DeBlanco and Jared Maiden. Both guys with some big expectations heading into this game.
That, of course, brought to you by Collegiate Sports Data, as Jared Maiden actually saw his younger brother yesterday on one of the younger United States national team squads. But this should be a fun outing. Now, the United States comes into this mindful that the team at the bottom of your screen won it running away 53-9 when these games took place down the road on the campus of the University of Texas at Arlington. Before kickoff, let's try to squeeze in your starting lineups for both squads.
And we'll start, of course, first with the USA offensive starter. As we mentioned, Dwayne Haskins at the quarterback position, a player to watch. Of course, this presented by Siege Sports. Also, keep an eye out for Robert Washington. He's been in the program for a couple of years and, well, has come up all the way through the U15, 16, 17, and now on the 18 team. As far as the Team Canada defense, you take a look at their defensive lineup, of course, also presented by Siege Sports. Be on the lookout for a lot of these good, talented guys along the defensive lines we saw in yesterday's matchup. Some big guys coming down.
Thank you very much, Joe. Again, Lincoln Rose along with Greg Powers with you here live from AT&T Stadium, the home of the Dallas Cowboys. And, well, it's been a special time here in Arlington ever since AT&T Stadium came around, Greg. Of course, the last college football game of the year was played on this field, and it featured 4 players who were in the International Bowl last year playing for the United States, who went on to sign with Ohio State and Oregon, and they got to play their final game of their freshman years here earlier this month. But, of course, Super Bowls, NBA All-Star games, and even next year a WrestleMania will be taking place in Jerry World.
One of the premier events definitely in North Texas, and also a great stadium for the Texas High School Football State Championships as well.
Canada will kick things off. We mentioned the United States won and elected to receive. An aggressive mindset for the Americans. Back deep to return for the United States will be Jared Maiden, who you heard Joe Vasile highlight as one of your impact players, the defensive back from Rowlett, Texas. His younger brother, a quarterback, Maiden out of Saxe High School. Will also be back along with Trevon Diggs, a talented receiver out of the state of Maryland, where he attends the Avalon School. Now for Canada, the man to watch, the kicker for a second straight year, Gregory Hutchins out of Bedford, Nova Scotia. Talented young man at 6'3", as you noted, Greg. Great size, especially for a kicker. Has a great leg on him, could connect from 50 or beyond. But he's one of 4 returners from last year's team that defeated the United States at this level, the U18 matchup, 53-9. It was a game last year when Canada scored on its offensive possessions for 7 straight drives and really was able to put it away early.
And I think what you'll see this game come down to, too, is just watching these guys in practice and in the pregame, is the power of Canada versus the speed of Team USA.
Again, this is the second oldest age group, as the United States looking to avenge that loss. Now, the United States U19 national team did win last year, and they did go on to reclaim the World Championships, which last year took place in Kuwait. That's right. They were playing American football over in the Middle East, as 67 nations last time I checked sponsoring American football under the governance of IFAF, the International Federation of American Football. As we're just about set to go, fans pouring in. They're cheering on the red and black of Canada or the red, white, and blue of the United States. And it's easy to understand why Canada has quickly become one of the top 2 teams in the world when it comes to American football.
Definitely, they are starting to catch up a little bit with America especially, and I think this first possession for Team USA is going to be integral to what happens.
And Hutchins will kick it short, the onside kick. United States will fall on it and have excellent starting field position, the 45-yard line in Canada territory. As
it was Isaiah Taylor, I believe, with the recovery there.
Yeah, Canada looking to get the ball back to start off this game. We'll see if it backfires. You mentioned Taylor with the great hands, just able to fall right on top. And we brought you the United States starting lineup, and of course it'll begin with the man with the number 7 on his back, Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback from Maryland. Haskins out of the pistol. Will hand things off to his back, and a gang tackle by the Canadians will put an end to the run from Robert Washington, the native of Charlotte, North Carolina, out of Southlake Christian.
There's Mason Bennett coming up from the bottom of the pile there too.
As for Canada, Tristan Bredin among those in on the tackle. Great size, and when you talk about size, Bredin among the biggest bodies, the widest bodies you're going to have to try to get around. Good protection, quick release. This time finds his man Diggs, and Diggs will be able to move the sticks inside the 30 down close to the 29-yard line.
And what you saw Team USA do right there is in the hurry up, and they're coming right back after it on this very next play.
Those two are teammates, by the way, in high school. Both out of Gaither. Talking about the quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, and the receiver he just found, Trevin Diggs. That is a nice added advantage when you have that kind of relationship coming into this week, not starting from scratch. Second run of the ball game, as Robert Washington will finally be met by Canada's Chad Ayoade, young man out of Quebec.
Team USA wasting little time getting the play right back in, and they're ready to get on the ball and push the action here.
We had the Jamboree last night, U18, U19. Those 2 age groups did not participate. U19 will come into town this next week in time for National Signing Day. U18 obviously had their game today. Did not want to risk anything last night. Third gain, nothing doing. It'll be a loss of about 3 on what was 2nd and 7. They'll have 3rd and long coming up. And the big man for Canada making the stop that time, Mason Bennett out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. He has already committed to play his ball here south of the border at North Dakota. One of 2 players who have already verbally committed to play from North Dakota, Zachary Williams, an offensive lineman from Winnipeg, the other. United States looking to get the first points on the board on this opening drive. Pressure from behind, able to elude that sack. Looking, buying time. Receivers unable to help out their quarterback, and the ball almost intercepted in and out of the hands of Elijah Walker, a young man out of Brampton, Ontario. He was a part of that Ontario squad that won the Canada Cup this past summer, as Team Ontario beats Saskatchewan Green. And remember, United States got this football on the 45 to begin this drive. They have moved essentially 15 yards.
And that was a great play there by the wide receiver, Darius Poe, to keep an interception from happening, too. He had to actually turn into a defensive back there to keep USA the football.
This is no man's land. It would be a 47-yard field goal try, so instead, Haskins, as the flag is down in the backfield, will this benefit the United States, or will it put a nail in the drive? It appears to be against the offense, and that will be declined by Canada. Turnover on downs as the Canadians are about to get the football for the first time, as the intended receiver that time was Muhammad Jabi, the 6-foot target out of Dayton, New Jersey, from South Brunswick High School.
And while we've got the opportunity here, let's take a look at some of the defensive starters for Team USA, brought to you once again by Siege Sports. Be on the lookout for Isaiah Taylor, man who head coach Aaron Ingram says is a crazy person. He just wants to go out there and hit him hard.
1st and 10 for Canada after the turnover on downs. Nice job by the Canadian defense to pick up after special teams failed on the onside kick. The first man to touch the ball for Canada, number 17, that's Samuel St. Maurice out of Montreal. And it'll prove to be about a 3.5-yard gain, setting up second, and we'll say a long 6.
Definitely notice a difference in tempo between the two teams right off the bat, too. It looks like Canada's going to really try to get behind that huge offensive line and run the football.
Quarterback for Canada is Sawyer Bettner out of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. He actually was also the flag bearer during the Canadian anthem and appeared to be movement on the line. And that will back Canada up 5 yards. It'll be second and 11 coming up. But the quarterback, mentioned out of Saskatchewan, he actually, up north of the borders, plays 12-man football. Led his high school to the 3A championship up in Saskatchewan. He was the MVP, offensive MVP in that Canada Cup, despite playing for the losing side, the Saskatchewan Green team. Saskatchewan had 2 teams entered into the 8-team Canada Cup by virtue of being the host site. And Team Canada shows us a look out of the pistol. They go right back to their tailback. Second carry now for St. Maurice.
It was a good play there by Isaiah Taylor, too. We talked about him at the beginning of this series, and he's already made a couple of plays.
Yeah, Taylor able to shed a block. Young man out of Rockville, Maryland. United States unable to score on its opening drive. Moved the ball about 15 yards downfield into Canada territory. The Canadians, after a false start called, were backed up a moment ago, now have 3rd and 9 coming up. Low snap, able to get the pass off, in and out of the fingertips. Likely would not have gone for the first down, but it is a dropped pass by the intended receiver, Marquise Richards, another individual who played on that winning Ontario squad. As we'll get another look. And you can probably credit for the United States at least getting a hand in the air. Jonathan Pollock, the flag bearer, linebacker for the United States. Slightly distracting the intended receiver. If you are the kicker, you are also the punter. Double duties on rosters that for Canada only goes 40 men deep. Ball fielded at the 37-yard line, looking for blocks up across the 40. And that is where the return man for the United States, Darius Powell, will be brought down.
It was a great play by number 41, Eric Thackerdine, on the stop right there. It looked like he had a little window of opportunity, but Thackerdine kind of came in with a big pop.
Yeah, St. Maurice, the running back, among those with the stop. Well, for the United States, a new coach this year for the U18 squad, and assistant coach on the staff over there at Nevada, and that might explain why we've seen some early snaps out of the pistol for USA. And meanwhile, we see a Canadian defender, Tristan Bredden, run out of one of his shoes. He'll have to go fix the flat tire.
And Bredden wins the award for being the biggest guy on the field at 6'4", 365 pounds, too. He literally had a blowout.
Greg, we saw in that last play, Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback, have trouble with that mesh point with his tailback. Again, these young men got into town earlier this week, have had limited opportunities to work with one another. Finds his man, cross midfield, cutting down to the 42-yard line. When it's all said and done, I mentioned a young man who he already had a relationship before this week with, his high school teammate, Trevin Diggs.
It's a special connection, a great throw and a great catch and run by Diggs there.
Diggs finally brought back down by Deshaun Stevens out of Toronto for Team Canada. He was the defensive MVP for Team Ontario in that Canada Cup. Haskins, right-handed quarterback, one-on-one matchup, a lot of contact, and a yellow flag will fly as Trevin Diggs was being held all the way down the near sideline. And that'll be a pass interference. A reminder, I know a lot of folks are familiar with the NFL game, but this follows closer to the NCAA rules. Pass interference will not be a spot foul, but the 15 yards will be marked off and an automatic first down. So again, looking for that high school teammate, Trevon Diggs, but they'll get the first down when it's all said and done. after Elijah Walker is called for the pass interference. Walker, one of several individuals who play for the Bulldogs Club, team back in Ontario. United States has been in Canadian territory now in each of its first two possessions. Haskins the handoff up the middle. Great blocks up front and a nice hole there, Greg, for Robert Washington on his next carry.
Yeah, and the offensive line is actually starting to make some big holes out there as well, and also good in pass protection as we've seen this drive start to have some success as Team USA has advanced the ball deep into Canada territory here.
Lucas Plate had one of the first blocks, the young man out of New Caney, Texas, to help spring open the run. 2nd and 5 after the 5-yard gain. Haskins again will hand the ball off, and yardage a little bit tougher to come by this time, maybe a yard before Washington's brought down by a triumvirate of Canadians. Let's check in with Joe.
We're going to take a look at the replay of the pass that happened a little bit earlier. Nice catch made by Diggs at about the 46-yard line, then good burst of speed and a cut back towards the middle of the field to pick up all that extra yardage. Good job that time on the catch and run.
United States flirting with the red zone. Haskins, 3 receivers set, also a tight end, finds his man in stride. Too hot to handle, though, off the fingertips. And fortunate in the end, that's not intercepted on a tip drill. As we'll get another quick look, you see the post pattern and just in and out of the hands. And for the United States, that was Darius Powell, the intended receiver.
The drive stalls out, but I think one thing that you can see is clearly evident is the arm strength of Dwayne Haskins. I mean, that guy's got a rocket.
So the United States will try for the first points. This will be a field goal attempt. First time to introduce you to Manny Burrs, the kicker out of Riverside, California. Citrus Hill High School, one of a couple of Citrus Hill players. This from 38 yards, and it is good. The United States is first on the board in our International Bowl contest tonight between the U18 squads. United States takes the lead. We'll be kicking off when we come back here on ESPN3. As we resume play here at AT&T Stadium, the United States has kicked off, and this the return from Jamal Hooker out of Regina, Saskatchewan. And Canada will set up on the 25-yard line on its own half of the field for its second offensive possession. Lincoln Rose, along with Greg Powers, thrilled to have you with us as this is the first of 6 games we'll be bringing you on ESPN3. Tonight it's U18. Tomorrow 4 games coming your way. Doug Anderson, Greg Powers, and Joe Vasile will have the call. And then that 6th and final game, the U19 squads will clash 1 week from tomorrow to cap off the International Bowl 6-game series. Team Canada back out there on the field. Yesterday we saw teams representing Team Ontario and Team Alberta at various age levels. But these national teams that we're seeing here tonight, this U18 squad is a all-star collection of players from this past summer's Canada Cup, their national championship. 40 players total on the roster, as it is going to be 2nd and 8 coming up for Team Canada, and the United States gang tackling an excellent job ultimately to put an end to the run for St. Maurice.
Be interested to see if Canada starts to mix it up too. That's 2 possessions in a row, first down carry for the running back.
So 2nd and 8 from the 28-yard line. And there you see the pistol formation. And the handoff on what was a read, it appeared, and they saw the end crashing down, handing off the football, and then quickly the running back dropped for Canada, the diminutive Javante Stanley out of Brampton, Ontario, as you'll get another look, being swallowed up in the backfield. A loss of about 1.5 yards.
It was Taylor again with the penetration, and we're getting used to saying his name already in this broadcast.
Yeah, Isaiah Taylor out of the 2nd level, talented young linebacker. We're going to see several Americans in this ball game who have as many as 30 offers in terms of college scholarships. They won't have to make their decision official until about a year from now. In fact, you saw in that last break, National Signing Day. We'll be bringing you live coverage Wednesday morning this next week. Some of the top players in the country will be making it official. Team Canada will burn its first time out with an important down coming up. It'll be 3rd and 7 when we resume our coverage live from the 2015 International Bowl U18 game. Welcome back, as of course for USA Football we have seen some greats, including a Heisman Trophy winner in recent memory, Jameis Winston. Now Malcolm Brown will likely be a first-round draft pick, as he declared he is going to enter the draft this year as a junior out of the University of Texas. You see some talented individuals, and last year in the U19 game, the standout with 2 touchdowns, Samaje Perine out of the University of Oklahoma, had an All-American performance as a freshman this year. And an incomplete pass on 3rd down for the Canadians will force a punt. And, Greg, that means the United States should have great field position coming up.
And for the 3rd possession in a row, considering the onside kick at the beginning of the game, they should start with great field position.
Yeah, the entire game has been taking place right between really the Canadian 20 and maybe the Canadian 45 for the most part.
You'd like to see if you're the Team USA coaching staff, get some more points on the board and take advantage of that great field position.
So once again, back to return on special teams. For the United States, it is Darius Powell out of El Sobrante, California, El Cerrito High School. He'll go out of bounds, well-placed punt right around the 40-yard line. And so for just the second time, the United States will have to start on its own end of the field following the punt from Gregory Hutchins.
It looked like the punter was actually trying to avoid Powell and Trayvon Diggs right there, and maybe not a bad idea.
United States with a field goal on its last drive will stick with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, the starter here tonight. Haskins with a couple of receivers at the bottom of your screen. And now the running back to his right again is Robert Washington. Looking left. Even if he wasn't your high school teammate, 6'2", 180, why wouldn't you throw him the football?
Exactly, and he's actually very quick. He gets off the line in a flash.
As you get another look there, but an excellent job by Team Canada quickly closing in on the coverage there was Elijah Walker. 2nd and 8 coming up from the United States 45-yard line. Pump fake, blindside pressure, and a huge sack. Fortunate to hang on to the football, and a highlight moment there for the blitzing linebacker of Canada. That time it was Keen Herlamana out of
110 pounds, and he was very quick off the edge to get the pressure on Haskins.
And the young Canadian, really with nothing between him and the opposing quarterback. And that will push things back now to a 3rd and 14, make it a 3rd and 14 for the United States. Currently up by a field goal. Looking left the entire way. Out of the backfield has Muhammad Jabi, and Jabi will only pick up a couple, and it'll be time for the United States to punt this ball for the first time out of its own half of the field. Can Canada take advantage? And Jabi with his first catch out of Dayton, New Jersey, out of South Brunswick High School.
Staying at home and going to play for Rutgers in college, Jabi.
Rutgers, of course, moving to the Big Ten Conference. After previously being a member of the American as well as the Big East. Pressure, almost a block. Canada getting oh so close with the fingertips there.
Wow, and it hit off the big board, Lincoln. The punt actually was high enough that it hit the bottom of the big board.
And you wonder, I'm not familiar with what the ground rules are that they talked about for this game, but in the NFL, you would re-punt that ball if the officials detected that it hit the giant video board above us. It's outside of your shot, but it stretches from one 20-yard line to another. And when there's anything playing on that video board, you are tempted, your eyes are drawn to it rather than the live action just below it.
Actually, I guess if you're either team, you really wouldn't complain. It didn't work out too bad field positioning-wise for Team USA, considering that it hit off the board at about the 45-yard line.
So Team Canada, as you get a look at the no return Canada has a 1st and 10 from its own 38-yard line. 4 wide, 3 to the bottom of your screen. Looking right the entire way. And will ultimately settle for Jamal Hooker. Young man who's going to play at the next level in Waterloo, Ontario.
Not big but quick, 5'8", 173, and it looks like he has some speed on the return earlier. It looked like he had a window of opportunity to possibly turn in a big gain, and I think that you'll probably see Canada try to get him more involved with their offense as well.
A nice form tackle, and we've seen some nice job defensively on tackles this week. That time is Jordan Jefferson able to make the stop, another player out of New Jersey. It's going to be second and a manageable 4 here for Team Canada. Up the middle, has space, room to run, and speed to boot. A foot race inside the 20, and a touchdown-saving tackle when it's all said and done by Jared Maiden. But Canada is set up to claim its first lead thanks to the run from Javante Stanley.
Have to give some credit to the big offensive lineman, too. Zachary Williams blew that play up, kind of spring that run, and you saw the speed of Maiden saving a touchdown there, and there's a reason why he's got double-digit scholarship offers already, and that's why.
Good old-fashioned 50-yard dash for the Canadian running back. And it'll be 1st and goal, as many as 4 tries available to Canada here from the 1. They keep it on the ground. First touch in the backfield, and for now, United States is held, and you can credit for USA Ezra Rice, young man in New Jersey from Hackensack High School, getting that first contact and hurting the efforts of Canada's chance of scoring. The carry from Makwanda out of Quebec. Timeout, we'll take it as well when we come back. Canada knocking on the door here in Arlington. First quarter ended with the United States taking a 3-point lead into the break, but it'll be 2nd and goal coming up. 12-minute quarters here. That follows the high school regulation. That's about the one variance from the NCAA rules. When at the college level, it'll be 15-minute periods for a 60-minute ball game. Lincoln Rose, along with Greg Powers, with you for this U18 matchup between the United States and Canada, a game that Canada won a year ago. The United States is up by a field goal at the moment, but Canada knocking on the door. The Canadian quarterback, Sawyer Bettner, will keep it himself, and it appears the Canadian is in the end zone for the first time tonight.
Not a bad play call there.
You'll get another look. Why risk anything by handing it off and losing ground? Just follows those blockers right up the middle. And it was going to be a tough task for the United States to hold Canada to a field goal try after that 50-plus yard run. That put them right on the threshold. So the first touchdown of the night belongs to the quarterback who keeps it himself again, the young man out of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
If I've got a 310 guy playing center and a 320 and a 310 next to him, that's probably where I'd keep it in the middle of the field as well.
And right now, the reason why we haven't had the extra point just yet, the trainers have come in to look at Ezra Rice, who was in on a big play on the last snap of the opening quarter.
He was actually the center of the defense that got pushed back on that touchdown sneak.
We certainly hope he is okay. Again, this is the one game that these two teams will be participating in. You would just assume everybody come out of it healthy. Extra point try will come from Gregory Hutchins. The hold from backup quarterback Alex Basilis from Calgary. USA looking to get some pressure on the edge. And a line drive, extra point is good. Canada strikes for the first time in the opening moments of the second quarter, claiming its first lead here in the U18 matchup. It is the 2015 International Bowl live from AT&T Stadium. And a reminder, our live coverage tonight here on ESPN3 brought to you in part by our friends at Sports Authority, official sporting good provider of USA Football. And Riddell, official helmet and protective equipment partner of USA Football. Lincoln Rose, along with Greg Powers with you. Of course, USA Football, it is the national governing body for American football here in the States, and one of their initiatives that I know most people are familiar with by now, Heads Up Football, and that is ensuring that there is a safe experience playing American football from top to bottom, whether it be the youth leagues or the professionals. And we've even heard, obviously, coaches at the collegiate level talk about, look, if you're playing with your heads up, you're also a better all-around football player, making better tackles on defense.
Seattle Seahawks coach Pete Carroll, big believer in stands behind all of those tackling techniques and teaches them to his team, and it's paid dividends, I think, for the Seahawks.
United States trailing by 4, and will have its worst starting field position with its 4th drive coming up. As I believe it was Jared Maiden who had that return just out across the 20. It was, in fact, Maiden. Mentioned he and his brother both play football at Saxe High School here in Texas. His younger brother on a different squad that we saw yesterday in the Jamboree, and we'll see again tomorrow. New quarterback for the United States, handing off the football that time, was Henry Allen from right here in the Dallas area. He's a student at Highland Park High School. And the stop, a talented Canadian that we expect to call the name of several times, Shiki City Sal from Vermont, Quebec. 2nd and 9 after just 1 yard on the last carry, and this will be a sack for Canada, and the man who will be credited with that sack, the second big play we've seen from him already, is number 44, Carter Wilson.
He passes the eyeball test at 6'3", 225 pounds, too.
Plays his club ball in Ottawa for the Sooners. Hailing from Ontario, was on that U18 national championship squad from this past summer. To the victor go the spoils. The Ontario coach is the head coach this year of this U18 team, Glenn Mills. Big hit, and that ball ultimately, was it intercepted or caught? It's a turnover. Canada will have it on the 49.
It's Benjamin Whiting who walks away with the INT after the ball bounced around.
Whiting out of Saskatoon comes up with the tip drill. And this is not the answer the United States was looking for after surrendering the first touchdown of the evening. The intended receiver, Brandon DePrado, out of Cypress, Texas, from Cy Woods High School. But you see, swarm of Canadians in the area. And actually, I misspoke. He was the second one there. It looked like they were looking for Diggs again.
And he was open. It just kind of bounced off his hands. It was a good throw. He was open. It just didn't work out.
They spot the ball at midfield on the 50. Our first turnover of the ball game. Canada leads a touchdown to a field goal. Run to the left side, and the United States not giving up any room. As a couple men popping up out of the pile for the United States on the tackle includes Colin Dowling out of Fallbrook, California. The carry that time for Canada picks up maybe an inch or two. And Canada sticks with the same quarterback as they lead right now up by 4, a touchdown on their last drive here in the second quarter after the United States got the only points of the opening 12 minutes. About a 2-yard gain will set up 3rd and 8 now.
There's Isaiah Taylor there with the pressure again, but then forcing the play to go the other way, and then number 51 was able to clean it up.
That run for Javante Stanley was about 50 yards shorter than the last one he had. Yeah, Jake Fusak among those in on the stop, and well, he's got some size of his own. 6 feet 5 inches, 265 pounds, out of Buffalo, New York. 3rd and long in USA territory. Needing some blocks, and they've got the first down and more. Nobody able to pick up the receiver, Cade Bellick out of Regina, Saskatoon. Saskatchewan. He actually was the leading receiver in the Canada Cup with 3 touchdowns, almost 400 yards during the 3 games. And you can see why. He is not scared to go down the middle.
You saw in that big play, big Samuel Lefevre getting downfield to make a block. They don't make 300-pound guys that move like that all over the place.
We have a USA player down. We'll take a break. You're watching live coverage from Arlington, Texas of the 2015 International Bowl U18 matchup. Jared Maiden was the American who was slow to get up. You see he appears to be okay, but will have to sit out this next play at least for the United States defense as they are back on their heels right now after the 3rd down conversion by this Canadian squad. Running back for Canada is still Stanley. The quarterback in front of him, Sawyer Bettner. In motion, Richards to the tailback. Able to find the hole. Great recognition and able to pick his way through for it appears it'll be about 6.5, 7-yard gain when they mark this ball down.
He's very quick and elusive, and he's hard to find behind that big Canadian offensive line for sure.
Ball will be marked at the 21. Canada needs to reach the 18 for the next first down. Canadian U18 national team, again, this is made up of players currently in their final years of high school. For the most part in Canada, high school wraps up with 11th grade, unlike here in the States where 12th grade would be your final year before going off to college. A lot of Canadians will go on to the equivalent of junior college for a couple of years before they go on to university. Dumped down on 2nd and 3, another conversion as after grabbing a lead on their last drive, Team Canada continues to march and move the sticks. I believe that time they found Marquise Richards, a running back who's lined up as a receiver a couple times now.
I love it when the fullback gets the opportunity to get his hands on the football.
He's been able to do some things with it here early on. 1st and 10 from the 15. Canada can pick up another first down without having to score. 2 running backs in the backfield. And this, again, Javonte Stanley immediately met by Isaiah Taylor. And we do have a flag down, a couple of flags down. Our officials come together, and we'll get the announcement in just a moment. Well, the United States kicked the field goal in the opening quarter. Canada was right on the goal line when the first quarter came to an end, but their lone score here in the second period.
I think you're starting to see that big offensive front start to take over the game a little bit right now, too.
Well, the United States has called for an unsportsmanlike conduct foul, and that'll be half the distance to the goal, and it is a first down. It'll be 1st and goal from the 6 now for Canada. Now, they had to get to the 5 for a first down, but the penalty carries with it an automatic first down. That's why that ball is outside the 5. At the 6, yet it's still 1st and goal. From the pistol, big hole right side, and Canada for its 2nd straight possession has put up 6 points, and this time Javonte Stanley is able to put on the punctuation. 6-yard touchdown run, just about untouched was Stanley. Big bodies moving some dirt up front in front of him, including one of his offensive linemen, and Drew Merleitner from London, Ontario.
Zachary Williams also with the key block on that touchdown carry.
So Hutchins made the first extra point. Pressure from the edge, and it's good. Just like that, Canada erases a 3-point deficit and has an 11-point lead of its own as we take a quick break. Apologies, we've missed the opening play. It's 2nd down as the United States picks up nothing now, as it'll be 3rd 3rd and 9 coming up. You're watching live coverage of the 2015 International Bowl Series here on ESPN3 for a second straight year. It is a 6-game series from all age groups, and at time a big tackle appreciated, and I would argue it's not a heads-up play by the Canadian making that stop, Drew Merleitner, as the crown of the helmet drilling the running back for United States. But a big stop, drawing some oohs and ahs from the crowd across the way. 3rd and 9, Allen looking to keep this drive alive and airs one about 10 yards over the head of his intended target. And the United States, after seeing 2 straight touchdown drives for Canada, will be giving this ball right back. And remember last year, this U18 squad for Canada scored on 7 straight possessions en route to a 53-9 victory. Now, the United States did win the U19 matchup, but Team Canada is starting to catch fire here. Back to return in just a moment. It'll be Joshua Quarles out of Alberta. Both sides have gotten good pressure on the punters. And a late fair catch at the 31-yard line and having to go down to a knee before squeezing it in for Canada was Quarles. Again, you're watching live coverage here in the midst of the second quarter, in part brought to you by our friends at St. Vincent Sports Performance, official sports medicine partner of the U.S. national team, as well as CVS Minute Clinic, official sports physical provider of USA football. Well, Canada had a 50-yard scoring drive thanks to that interception their last time out. They're going to have to march 70 yards if they are going to find their 3rd touchdown of the quarter. 5 minutes remaining in this opening half. A flag flies. We'll see if it's holding, and a late peel block away from the play as the ball carrier for Canada is St. Maurice once again.
And until the last couple of series, it's been a pretty clean game, I would think, for an international competition. Not a lot of practice time for these guys together. We haven't seen too many mishaps of a fumbled snap and one false start penalty, I believe, up until now.
Chop block was the call early on Canada, and that will be a personal foul, moving them back 15, so you go from a 1st and 10 to a 1st and 25. I suspect we'll see a pass play or two. It appears Alex Basilis is your quarterback for this drive. The quarterback is Stanley, who had the touchdown on their last possession. And here is Stanley. Can't break the initial tackle as the United States quick to get there. And a nice job for the American. This time it was Dunga out of Irvington, New Jersey.
It's a squat body Dunga.
Quick to get to that football and not giving Stanley a chance to slip it out of 3rd gear.
It looks like he's got the type of frame, Link, whenever he hits you, you go down.
So, uphill battle here, despite having a lead for Canada. Touchdowns on each of their last 2 possessions. Basilis, delayed handoff. Stanley will be brought down immediately. And that is a nice tackle, able to hang on to the shirt for the American, and Jamarian Caston, the linebacker from San Francisco. And Jamarian able to pin Canada even farther back.
And that was a big penalty on 1st down here, and I think that this is exactly what Team USA needed to get the momentum back in their corner before halftime.
Well, it's never a good thing if you're the offense and you've got that end zone right behind you. They'll have to be fairly conservative, and a timeout called by Basilis did not want a delay of game call. So Canada leads 14-3. Takes a timeout. We'll do the same as you're watching live coverage of the International Bowl tonight on ESPN3. Welcome back. Easiest way to follow the conversation for these 2 weeks in the International Bowl Series, follow hashtag IB2015 on Twitter as well as on Instagram, and that's applicable whether you're cheering on the US of A or Football Canada. It has been fun this week, Greg, to first follow everybody hopping on to an airplane from wherever they're coming from, arriving in Arlington, and then the unveiling of their uniforms, and obviously USA with some great uniforms that the U18 and U19 squads will be sporting this year, a new look courtesy of Siege. But the United States is going to be able to hold on 3rd and a mile. That's close to a kilometer, as Team Canada is going to have to kick this one away with 3 minutes to go. As that is another time where the United States gets initial contact. First man to get the hand on him was, again, Dunga, to slow down any hopes of momentum for Makwanda. And that young man, Gregory Hutchins, with his feet firmly planted in the end zone for this punt. The United States has been close to getting a hand on the last couple, this time conservative, to set up a nice return that'll begin in Canada territory. And they say a fair catch was signaled by Diggs. He did have a gesture. I don't know if you would have been granted a fair catch at times on a modest wave of the arm that never got above his shoulder, but to be safe, they'll blow it dead, and USA will have a good starting spot here at the 47-yard line.
There's not much room for error. You raise that arm up a little bit and move it, and they're gonna say it was a fair catch.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see a penalty assessed when a young man then tries to set up a return when it's deemed that he had a fair catch. The United States will not be penalized here. Starting in Canadian territory for the second time tonight. The first was the opening drive when they recovered an onside kick. Good protection, has his man, a short route. As our first completion of the night to Daniel Bender, the tight end from El Cajon, California. Nice 6'4", 205-pound frame.
Brandon Wildman now in at quarterback, too, for Team USA.
Yeah, third quarterback we have seen for the Americans. Wildman out of Monticello, Illinois. Wildman, pressure from the ends, and will throw it at the feet of a receiver. Officially, the intended receiver will be Devin Floyd. He didn't want any part of it, but basically, the incomplete pass helps you avoid the sack and any grounding call.
Carter Wilson with the pressure there, and it's a good thing that he decided to go low, or there might have been a flag on that late hit.
So it'll be 3rd and 9 coming up for the United States, as USA moving a little bit slower, in part because they're mindful of that clock inside of 2 minutes. They're in no rush to give it back to Canada. Looking for his man, far sideline, and that ball will be intercepted. Essentially, as much as Canada wants to celebrate it, that's a perfect punt.
Exactly, and they squandered that good field position, Team USA.
As you see, Canada with 2 men back, statistically will go down as an interception, as it is picked off by Canada's LeBeau out of Quebec.
6'1", 192-pound safety. Nice size.
So Canada will begin on its own 15. With 1:39 to work with. And I believe just one timeout, and Canada will burn it right at the last second. And again, we'll clarify one of the subtle differences up there north of the border. This U18 squad chosen from their U18 National Tackle Football Championship that we've been talking about, referring to it as the Football Canada Cup this past summer, which took place in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I mentioned that Ontario prevailed over the Saskatchewan Green squad. That's 3 games in a span of a week. 8 provincial squads this year. A couple of them from Saskatchewan. But up there, it is not uncommon after high school to attend what is referred to as CEGEP, C-E-G-E-P. That is pretty similar to here in the States, junior college, before many of these players will then go on and pursue attending a university and perhaps even playing at the next level. Many of these Canadians on this U18 squad have already committed verbally. We mentioned 2 are going to come to play at North Dakota, just south of the border. But others will be suiting up for schools like Concordia University in Montreal, as well as University of Alberta in Edmonton. As Canada here from their own 15-yard line, no gain on the completed pass. It'll be 2nd and 10 coming up, and the clock will continue to tick down. Canada cannot stop it other than with an incomplete pass here down the stretch before halftime.
USA was ready for that play call, too, out of the timeout.
And Canada probably will be content hanging on to this football and heading into halftime with a 14-3 lead. The last 14 points of the game have belonged to the Canadians. A tighter contest as we approach halftime than a year ago. Stanley on the ground, and he will get out of bounds. A 9-yard pickup. It'll stop the clock with 44 seconds left. And after that gain, perhaps Canada will consider trying to be a bit more aggressive on its next play. See what it can do.
Number 58, Dalen Giffen, setting the edge right there. Might have got away with a little bit of a hold to spring that run.
For the U.S., it was Maiden back in the ball game, a good sign for the red, white, and blue, forcing him out of bounds. Let's say a yard shy. 3rd and 1 coming up. Keep it on the ground with Stanley. He needs that 25-yard line. It'll be close to a first down. But the clock continues to tick, at least for now. Now the officials will stop the clock. As we'll see if the United States didn't call a timeout. If they think they have held Canada, then they wouldn't mind getting this football right back, and that's exactly the case. Heads-up play by the United States.
Nick Mihalik with the sound tackle right there.
So 33 seconds remaining here in the opening half. Again, Lincoln Rose along with Greg Powers, Joe Vasile, Tom Monfiletto, and Amanda Cozy rounding out our crew here in Arlington. Yesterday, the Jamboree featuring the U15, essentially 8th graders, U16, U17, as well as a U19 select squad. We're on display, getting everybody in the mood for the 5 matchups this weekend. One tonight, the one you're tuned into here, the U18 duel between the United States and Canada, before 4 matches beginning bright and early tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central Time here on ESPN3. That'll feature the one IFAF World Team and a United States select squad. That'll be shades of the first 3 international bowls when there was a single game between the United States and the World Team. The United States won the first 2 before the World picked up its first win in that 3rd matchup. Looking for a good punt, big pressure. 2 men back, and the United States will start in Canada territory with 24 seconds to work with and I believe 1 timeout remaining. A late flag comes in, and let's see which way this moves the football.
Jonathan Pollock almost walked away with a punt block right there. As a matter of fact, I don't know how he missed it.
Both sides have come so close, and you wonder how much of that is because you have a collection of guys playing special teams alongside one another for the first time. Our officials coming together. Umpire talking to the referee. Flag came in late at the end of the run. See if they don't discard it.
22 seconds left to go, and USA would definitely like to walk away with some points.
I believe I heard there was a fumble of the football. Canada gets it back with a first down. That's why they would decline the penalty on the United States, which had been an illegal block in the back. They are going to say that Darius Powell coughs up this football, and that is the case. In fact, it was cleanly stripped out by Samuel St. Maurice. That is a running back going in and getting that football.
Did a great job pulling it out there, too, and some people may remember Maurice Clarett doing that same similar type of thing in the national championship game for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
So the United States had called a timeout earlier, hoping to save some time on the clock. Instead, Canada could be the beneficiary, but not after that play, as Jamal Hooker probably would have been better off just not making that catch. Instead, takes a lick.
Highlight-worthy play there for Jared Maiden. You see he flies up like a torpedo, and to keep it with the defending or heading into the national championship team from this year, Ohio State, that they're one of his offers.
That's the final play of the opening half. 24 minutes in the books, and it's a 2-score lead for the U18 squad of Canada. 14-3 our score at AT&T Stadium. We'll be back with halftime coverage here on ESPN3.